Hello, this is Dr. Mewborn, and this is History of the Baptist. We're in Lesson 28 today, and we're looking at American Baptist Home Mission. It's focusing on the society of the American Baptist Home Mission, and I think this is a great topic because it talks about what was happening domestically in America during the 1800s. So, very unique topic. So let's go ahead and get started. I wanted to look at this slide very quickly. We've looked at this before, but it's talking about Baptist missions in America. America, from its founding, and also from the first Baptists that were in America, as in Roger Williams here, there's always been this focus on missions, and he is no exception. Of course, he is one of those who are the pillars of missions. As we see it, as he was ministering to the Indians at this time. And so he learned many Native American languages, as we looked at. He conducted missionary work with them, and also believed that the Native Americans were the true landowners of American land, and England or New Englanders should buy it from them. And so he is pouring into the lives of these people, and that type of mindset continued on for years. So just a very important slide to look at and kind of review. But as we go forth in Baptist missions, there's another person, Hezekiah Smith, from 1737 to 1805. He was the pastor of First Baptist Church of Haverhill, Massachusetts, 1765 to 1805. He was a chaplain in the American Revolution, 1775 to 1780. Preached the gospel and formed churches in frontier communities. He spent several weeks of each year ministering in the wilderness, pouring into people all over. He's known to have gone to every state in the United States at that time, and he was always taking the gospel to people that were kind of off the beaten path. That was a very important thing for him, and so he was also known as kind of a force for missions. Here's a kind of a picture of the cover of a lot of his work or his journals, the Life, Ministry, and Journals of Hezekiah Smith, 1737 to 1705, and so you see who he was there, but kind of just a collection of those. I want to show you that. But as we continue on, going back to this picture, I think it's important when we think about Baptists are a missional people. That's kind of that's how they operate. That's how they think. And we've talked about the usage of gospel tracts and printed publications so that you can get the gospel out to other people that are definitely in need of that. That's how they thought on a daily basis. A year after the Triennial Convention was formed, they worked to develop home missions in America. And so we talked about the Triennial Convention that has done so many things. And one of the parts of it was home missions. And they were saying, we want to be strong, not only internationally or in foreign missions, but we want to focus on the people that are actually in America. And so, or in the territories within the surrounding areas. And so they wanted to focus in on that. The first group of focus was the native tribes of the West. These people had been treated harshly, and the convention wanted to improve relations. They called this ministry the Mission Westward. So we talk about the Louisiana Territory. We talk about areas in Missouri. We talk about places in Louisiana in general. There's all different opportunities for the gospel to go to these people when there was no gospel going to them. And it reminds me of the thinking that was happening in the 1990s, especially and continuing on to today, but exploring the 1040 window. You might have heard this phrase before because it's very important when we're talking about international missions. It says the 1040 window is the rectangular area of North Africa, the Middle East, Asia, approximately between 10 degrees north and 40 degrees north latitude. There are nearly 60 nations across northern Africa, the Middle East, and Central Asia in the 1040 window. Over 4.83 billion people, including nearly 90% of the world's poorest of the poor, live in the nations in the 1040 window. It is estimated that 2 billion of these people have never had the chance to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ, not even once. The seat of every major non-Christian religion, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, animism, atheism, and Sikhism is headquartered in the 1040 window. And so you're seeing this place is huge, but it contains such a large amount of the world's population. Here it is in a different map here, or a map for us to see where it's really located, and these places are so full of people that have never heard the gospel. And so in the 1990s, this became a huge push. And I wanted to show you that because it kind of makes me think a little bit about what was happening in America. Yes, there were a lot of Congregationalists, there were a lot of Anglicans, there were a lot of Baptists. There's a lot of things going on in the colonies, and then of course into the states, in the United States. But there was a lot of people that had never heard the gospel and didn't know it as they moved westward, and they found that out. So they began to minister to them, calling it home missions. The Triennial Convention was originally formed to focus on foreign missions, but they quickly realized that domestic purposes were equally as important. You see here the Triennial Convention later in the, I believe, 1800s, and just kind of a picture of these ministers coming together, these people, these delegates coming together saying, hey, let's do something with the people around. They agreed that the Baptist Board of Foreign Missions for the United States have full power at their discretion to appropriate a portion of the funds to domestic missionary purposes. Unfortunately, so that it sounds good, this is what they're doing, but unfortunately, the board changed their policy about home mission work in 1820. So just a few years later, they changed it and said, no, we can't do that. And the reason is because of mass immigration, to farmer preachers going around, what they believed was, or a lack of money to get to these people. The convention decided to stop funding the home mission work in the West, except for the Indian mission ministry under Isaac McCoy, Fort Wayne, Indiana. And so they pretty much pulled out of all of this work that was taking place, and so now you've got, well, you started with this desire for home missions, but then you quickly pulled out because of maybe a lack of funds, or you believe that there's farmer preachers going out there and pouring into them. There's all kinds of reasons, but it wasn't necessarily the case. There might have been a lack of money, but there wasn't a lot of ministry going out westward. And so that's what brought some other change. In hopes to gain momentum and funding for home missions in the West, a guy by the name of John Mason Peck and Jonathan Going traveled throughout Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, and Missouri to survey the needs. You see this guy here, John Mason Peck. These guys traveled, and they went around, and what they found was so disturbing to them, they realized we've got to do more work. And so the men discovered countless frontier families with no Bible and no opportunities to hear the gospel. They also observed churches with no pastors and many churches with no buildings. In 1833, 40% of churches in America were without pastors. The West was even worse. The statistics, it was horrible for what was taking place in America. And so this was a huge problem, of course, that Peck and Going understood and said we need to minister in these areas. In 1832, Peck and Going laid the foundation for a new mission society in America. Delegates from 14 states met in New York to form what is known as the American Baptist Home Mission Society. You kind of see their logo there, as well as kind of their sign, and kind of get a picture of that. And so you're starting to understand some different things. Now, we see some dates here that are interesting. You see in 1824, American Baptist Home Mission Societies, and then you see also on the left-hand side, 1832, Peck and Going are really working toward these home mission societies in general. And what was happening is that it started out with a group of people, of course, in 1824, the focus, but then there was a true focus that happened with Peck and Going, and that's where it really took off and became what it did. Achievements of the Home Mission Society: first year, 89 appointments to 10 states, territories, and provinces. By 1844, the Home Mission Society had 97 missionaries under appointment and supplied 327 churches and mission stations. The Home Mission Society had organized 551 new churches and baptized over 14,000 new converts. Almost every church in the Midwest benefited from the work of the Home Mission Society. And that's just a significant thing. All right, I thought this was really cool. This is the 31st report of the American Baptist Home Mission Society. And if you look at the date there, it's in small lettering, but it's 1863. So this was pretty early on with the American Baptist Home Mission Society, but they were doing work. They were trying to get the gospel into these places, and they were doing things that that some of our societies today or our conventions would dream of, because they're really in the lives of so many people. So I think this is a great, it's just a great area to study, American Baptist Home Mission Societies, and it's a great thing to see what God was doing at that time as well. Okay? All right, that's the end of Lesson 28 today. Good to be with you, and we'll talk to you soon. God bless you. Bye-bye.